Hi everybody, it's me, The Fetch, host of Inside the Eye Live. Before the Sunday mainstream media political pundit talk shows, there is Inside the Eye Live, where we break down some of the weekly mainstream media talking points before the talking points even get aired. Add in some entertaining stories, weather, cats, intriguing and informative guests, and you get one of the most listened to Saturday morning streaming media political talk shows going today. And it's all right here on our flagship station, Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. So join me, The Fetch, for Inside the Eye Live every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern. It is truly intelligent media for the politically aware.
Welcome to Sacred Matrix, a divine paradigm of love and universal consciousness, with your host, Janet Kira Lessin and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Together, we transform the world.
And now, here are your hosts, Janet Kira and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Carson, and this is the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
You're awful low, Janet.
Okay, let me turn that up. Can you hear me now?
That's a little better.
I can.
Okay, I'm going to see the mic and go up. Okay, how's that? Is that louder?
No, ain't much difference. You're louder than you were when you started, but you really need to go up a lot more.
Okay, I can only go up. Let's try that. Sasha, would you like to talk?
This one doesn't go. Can't hear you.
Well, you can't hear me anyway because we.
Anyone else either?
You don't hear. Okay. I guess we need to do a sound check. Anyway, this is because your mic's unplugged. Here we go. Janet Kira Lessin. I'm trying to plug and read what's going on at the same time. Okay. We have a panel today. And we're going to be doing a Mars conference the first weekend of May 2017 in Mobile, Alabama. Here now?
Yes.
Okay. And at the conference, we're going to have a lot of people, Andrew Basiago and Billy Carson and Janet and Sasha. That's ourselves, and Lewis Michael Rhinehart, William White Crow, Bret, Colin, Sheppard, Patrick, Ken Johnston, and Thomas Mikey Jensen. And today on this show, we're going to have about half of them, Janet and Sasha and Karen, Bret and Thomas and Lewis. So I'm not sure who's all here today, but we're going to talk about the 6th Annual Mars Conference 2017 will be at the University of South Alabama in May of 2017, and we hope you will join us. Dr. Lessin, what would you like to say before we do the roll call?
This is going to be a great conference. You're going to learn a lot. It's just a chance to examine facts and hear presentations that'll utterly change your reality.
So I'm not sure who's all in the queue here. I think we have Karen and Bret. Are you there? Karen, Bret, did you get called in? Okay, you're with us. Great. Sasha, great back. He went to get some water.
Can you hear me now?
And we have Lewis, and I can hear you. But Karen, check in. Hello. Go ahead. Take the mic. Tell us what you're going to be talking about at the conference.
Yes. Well, Bret's here with me, and I thought I was going to be able to share a phone with us. We're going to go back and forth. The 6th Annual Mars Conference was started, of course, 6 years ago, right? And it was coming out of the work of Andrew Basiago kind of initially, and then he attracted, more and more researchers basically looking at anomalies. And there's several groups that came out of that anomaly cluster of people we started to join together. And Thomas, Mikey, Schroeder, Jensen, most recently started the United Family of Anomaly Hunters, which includes, I don't know, at least 15 different groups on Facebook, all discussing what's become a very interesting pastime, which was predicted by Andrew Basiago. He predicted that this would be a future hobby of people finding the hidden pictures in the NASA and other space agency photos. And Bret is kind of in there early with, Andrew Basiago started the Mars Anomaly Research Society. I'm not exactly sure how many groups, the people they have in the group, but it's probably close to 15,000 people. There's the Lunar Anomaly Research Society, which Bret had started that before, but he changed the name. But we were actually at 7,500 members when we were hacked, seriously hacked. So we actually had to start over, and we were up to something like 1,200, I'm not exactly, or 1,500. But we really have hardcore people in there that just have found amazing lunar anomalies. And Bret's also a Mars anomaly finder of note as well. One of the most widely known Mars anomaly Bret found last year. If you go to Google and type in a nickname that Bret doesn't like, it's the Jupiter 2 UFO on Mars. This is basically in a European Space Agency photo, and you zoom in, and there is unidentified, what Thomas Mikey called parked object, because it's just sitting on the edge of a canyon, and it looks somewhat like the Jupiter 2 ship from the old show Lost in Space. So it got that moniker, but that makes it easier to find. And also, Bret has quite a few other discoveries on Mars as well. So we've been asked to speak on the dimensions of Mars. That's kind of our combined topic. And Bret can share what he's going to talk about in his hours that he's been given. And I'm after him in that roster, so I can talk about what I plan to talk about at this Mars conference. But it's really grown from just a handful of people to they had a really good group last year. The organizer is Michael Rhinehart, and he is getting a facility at a university, so kind of a venue for all of us to go. And it's really far out stuff, but it's very well documented. I'm loving it that they're adding the Annunaki twist, the story of the Annunaki. They're going to have Billy Carson there, who's an experiencer. I'm an experiencer, and Janet and Sasha Lessin are the top-notch experiencer researchers in that story because they had a base on Mars at one point. And there was, things on Mars that had been found by the base on Mars guy is Richard Hoagland, who brought attention to that in the 90s. And, who's the base on Mars. So that was an interesting, anomaly that was found. And one of the other influences on getting people to look, to scan these images from NASA and the European Space Agency, and now there's China's in the game and India's in the game, to say, hey, there's what we're told about space and other planets and the moon and Mars is that, there's nothing to see here. It's just dust or gas or red soil or red sky or, there's nothing there. And yet people looking at images are finding what looks like a horrible catastrophe on Mars. I mean, it looks like there was a big war or something. And so that is what we all discuss on our groups. And then we have now this annual conference to share what we're finding and what the implications are about. So I hope that's a good introduction.
That is great. Thank you. Bret, are you there?
I'm going to hand him the phone here. Give me a sec.
Okay.
Hello.
phone call. Tell us what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear
We
you.
couldn't hear Janet. Janet, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Can you hear Sasha? Sasha, talk.
Well, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear Sasha pretty good.
Okay, there's something wrong with this headset. I'll switch the headset. Go ahead, Bret. You talk, and then we'll switch out the headset.
Which were you going to rap about it? What are you going to show us on the screen?
Can everyone hear me?
Barely.
How's that? Is that better?
Not much. Can you hear me if I go this way? Can you hear me? Can you hear me if I go this way? Which way's better? This way or this way?
You sound better that way, but we're still getting a garble.
Okay, I'm going to switch to another headset. Okay, go ahead, Bret. Keep talking. Sorry for the sound quality. I keep buying headsets, and they don't last very long. Oh, well, what can I say? I'll try to... Go ahead, Bret. Anybody there?
They fell off.
I'm hearing
Lewis is here.
Yeah, I'm hearing everybody. I mean, I'm not having any trouble hearing anyone.
You sound like you're gargling.
I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing that off and on from others. It's like, I don't know, it's vibrating.
Let me go ahead and reset the call real quick, Janet. Maybe that'll do it.
Okay.
Let me hang up and call y'all back real quick. Won't take this
Okay.
Call back.
Okay, we'll see if that helped out. We're getting Janet back now. And Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Okay, we're back.
Oh, now that's perfect.
I figured out what it was. It was one of these cables wasn't working. All right, so now who's up?
Lewis is back. Do you want me to call that other number back?
on.
Oh, okay. So
Oh,
okay, let's talk to Lewis then, and then.
So tell us about the conference and your plans for it. Let's start with that.
Okay, well, I just today got confirmation of the dates. But I knew it was going to happen anyway, so.
You have reached the voicemail box of 5.
Go ahead, I hung it up.
Okay, all right. So anyway, things are good for the 6th through the 8th, and of course the 6th and the 7th at the University of South Alabama. So and it has been. Karen has mentioned it started with a small group, and it was in fact only 3 of us. Me and Ross Curley and Patricia Williams, who started the first one in 2012. So, and the first 3. Go ahead.
We're listening.
Are we
I don't
good?
know who's trying to talk. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the first 3.
One at a time. Who's?
Are we?
Go ahead, Lewis.
Okay. All right. Anyway, the first 3 conferences were me and Ross Curley and Patricia Bullock Williams, and that happened in Hohenwald, Tennessee. And the second conference, we did have a Skype call with William Stillings, but that has not been released, that call, because well, he did not want it released at this point. So I think I've mentioned before that Patricia came up with T-shirts for the first one that said the first annual Southeastern Mars Conference. Well, that kind of spawned the rest, so and it has progressed from there, and I venture to say that it will continue to be that way. last year was really great, but this year is going to be, in my opinion, off the charts. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping that everyone decides they want to be a VIP and join us at my place on day 3, which is really an awesome time. We really have a good time together, and everybody will be able to meet and greet the presenters on a one-to-one basis. And
what does VIP mean? Tell us what you get for being a VIP.
Okay, for the VIP cost is an additional $75 donation, and for that you will get dinner paid for after each day at the university, and you will also have an invitation to the third day, which is generally a cookout at my place. That will be, again, just a relaxed atmosphere and setting that everyone really has enjoyed the past 2 years. So I'm really looking forward to that. And so hopefully that will happen. The cost in general is $100 if you just want to hear the presenters, and leave it at that. To get lunch served to you during the presentations, that's an additional $20. So for everything, for lunch, dinner, and the event at my place on the third day, you're looking at $195, which is, I think, a very good deal. It's a bargain, especially to hear the likes of you, Janet, and Sasha, and Bret, and Karen, and Andy, and William Whitecrow. I mean, just the lineup is fantastic. I can't wait. So, looking forward to it.
Excellent. Let's see who else is back. Let's see. Bret, have you managed to call back in?
Yeah, we got cut off and Bret stepped out. I can talk about what I was going to talk about. If you'd like to. Yeah. We titled our joint presentation Dimensions of Mars, and Bret's going to talk about pictorial dimensions, and he's amazing. I'm going to be talking about the human dimension, or even the humanoid dimension, because as we've discovered as a group, the research of Andrew Basiago, that there are beings. He was an experiencer. He went to Mars. He experienced some of the sentient beings that were there, some of the species that were there that was backed up by other whistleblowers. But something that concerns me about where humanity is right now is that we have so much material coming out from researchers, from experiencers, from all these different alternative news that's being called fake news, which really bothers me. NASA whistleblowers. We work with Ken Johnston, who is a NASA whistleblower. All this material is coming out, and yet, most of humanity is kind of asleep at the wheel. And my theme for the year, which is the experiencer disclosure, because it really, when people have a human experience with this material, it's life-altering. And what's beautiful about anomaly hunting is if somebody stares at enough pictures, they will have a personal experience of discovery, which actually happened to me in a lunar image. Bret, Colin, Sheppard, and I worked with Ken Johnston, who had original NASA photos of the moon. And so we actually had it where it was tampered with. We were able to see a lot of things, and I had an experience. And I'm more of an informational researcher and not so much an anomaly hunter. So it was really exciting for me to have that experience. And I'm telling you, there's literally hundreds of people doing this personal experience, having an epiphany of our consensus reality show telling us that we're a little bit off the beam. And so I'm going to be talking about this and having experiences.
Oh, there you are. You dropped
Hi.
off a bit.
I did. I'm holding really, really still. I'll hold real still. I'm going to talk about how to empower experiencers to feel far more confident with their family, friends, and neighbors, to, not be put off by the professional debunking and all that goes on. I'm going to make people feel really good about that they're right on the right track to have an interest and invest their time and their money and their attention to this topic. I have Bret back.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Sasha, do you have any comments or questions?
No, it's just I'll be talking about Sumerian extensive notes that were dictated to them by these great big tall Homo sapiens. We had said they came from another planet. They had a way station on Mars, and where they transshipped gold, and they made a statue, a big face on Cydonia of their ex-king who had been exiled to die on Mars and died there. So they made a statue of him with his helmet pulled back, looking at Earth. And there were invasions of the astronaut corps, of these Annunaki, they're discreet who twice invaded Earth. One of them, they actually both successful. One of them, they were unsuccessful, however. Their leader was killed. Sent Prince Marduk up to run Mars base and hang the body of the guy that had led the revolt. And to show these Martians, the astronaut Mars, you can't defy the commander and Yahweh. But the reality is that Prince Marduk made an alliance with the Martians, and so when Marduk got married, the prince, the Sarpana, the second time he invaded and took a landing platform, and this time of the slave women, and said, "We're settling here," and they became allies. So twice the invasion from Martians. This is in recent history. There were even way more ancient ruins than that on Mars. The sky-faring people, different events that have occurred on Mars. We're trying to sort it out, but there are ruins there, and once we are allowed the information, we can find out all kinds of things, not the least of which
we're really having trouble hearing you.
Sasha,
okay, I'll let that
we're having trouble hearing you. Can we check your mic and see what's going on? Okay, somebody else talk while I unplug and replug. Who wants to take the talking stick?
Well,
Karen?
I can come in with a little bit more. My talk is going to be the Living Mars is what I'm entitling it, and the main thrust is going to be what I found quite some time ago that I identified as the festival on Mars. And it's literally a festival that's being held in Victoria Crater. And there's a lot going on, like a woman playing the piano while a humanoid is singing in front of her. And that is where, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Hammerman. The Hammerman is actually one of my favorite finds, and he is one of the workers that for the festival. And after I found that, then Ross Curley, who is the VP of photo analyst for Mars Anomaly Research Society, he found another guy holding a hammer that's just to the left of my guy. His guy is wearing a flannel shirt, and mine looks like a gray ET, except he's golden in color. He's home artist extraterrestrialist. which a species that was identified by Andy, one of the five major humanoid species that are on the planet. There's many more, but they are the five main ones. So anyway, there's so much going on during this festival. Kids walking around, a clown, a large head that is a Viking head, what appears to be at the bar where the woman is playing piano. There's what looks like the head of a Viking ship that it resembles a dragon or horse's head. So,
Okay, who's calling me? Okay, but hang on.
Is that someone calling in?
I don't know what that might have been, but it's not going to work because it's going to disrupt this show. That's probably
Okay.
Thomas calling in, so I'm not sure what to do. Anyway, I'll figure that out. You keep talking and
just send them my number. Do you want me to call Mike now?
Pardon?
You said 8:30. Pull in Mike.
Yes, he's probably trying to call in.
Well,
yes.
He's showing offline, but I'll try and pull him in.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, the festival on Mars is going to be the highlight of my presentation, but I'm also going to bring forward a number of very large terraforms that can be basically they're identified from above, like a ram's head, a wizard head, an Indian head, a few Indian heads, actually two wizards. So Andy and I have talked about the thousand faces on Mars, and that's the way it is. They're all over the place. So what they've done is they terraform their habitats so that they can be identified from below. And they're all habitations that are basically underground. And also I'm going to bring out the fact that although a major habitation is underground, it seems to me that they are coming out onto the surface more and more all the time. So they still enjoy being on the surface, yet their main abode is underground. So that's kind of what a quick synopsis of what I'm going to be presenting.
All right. Someone keep talking. I'm typing to Thomas to try to get him on the show. He's on the old conference call we did a few days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, also I didn't mention that we're going to have someone else did, I think, having Ken Johnston on, and this is going to be a first for him. He told me, and he hopes to do more. So that's going to be really awesome, and it's everything kind of that we're doing is pretty much linked together. So the conference is going to be, as far as the information that's going to be shared, is going to be all congruent. It's going to be great. And Thomas, again, Thomas knew he was going to be here this year. We talked about it before he left last year's conference. He said, I know I'm going to be here again, and sure enough, here we are, coming to be. So, and the university is really a great venue. They're very cooperative and have provided everything that they said they would. So it's going to be really good.
So
how are we doing?
We'll try to get him on. I don't know what's
Still
going on.
Thomas?
Well, Thomas is, I typed to him, I said is he there? Thomas Becker, to distinguish between our two Thomases, is the producer, and he's trying to get him on. And I don't think he knows. He was calling in on an old, you remember the conference call we had the other day, so he was trying to call us from that. So maybe he's not going to be able to join us. Because he's not joining live on his Skype. He's somehow connected to the old conference call. He needs to drop that. I don't know how that works, but
yeah, I don't either. I know he was looking forward to it, though. I do know that.
So I'll just focus on this call here. Sorry to try
If he's got his Skype or his telephone number, I can call him.
He's in the UK. Does anybody have his
I can't call a
phone
UK number.
No,
he's in Denmark.
Oh, he's in Denmark. Okay, I'll go on his Facebook if somebody wants to keep talking, and I'll see if he's on Facebook.
Okay.
I'll keep trying.
Just,
you guys
also,
keep talking.
Okay, a little more background into how the conferences got started. Of course, me connecting with Andy regarding his paper kind of got everything going for me. And as a ufologist, I didn't have a clue that Mars was inhabited. I knew that we were not alone by any stretch, but I certainly didn't think that Mars was an inhabited planet. And I was proven wrong. So after I connected with Andy and got his paper and started doing some work, I really got totally absorbed. I estimated that I've spent in excess of 3,000 hours just examining rover and orbiter images. And I found a lot. And it was really nice. My wife, Pat, she got on board real quick, too, because she was looking over PIA 10214, which is the sphere rover image that Andy based his paper on, and she found a humanoid that I dubbed the Cape Guy, who was actually an example of Homo Martis, which is the indigenous Martians, and they resemble the Neferatu type character, pointed ears. They're always wearing caftans, too. Well, not always, but most of the time they have a caftan on. Kind of pointed ears, more of a spindly body, short, 4.5 feet tall, something like that. But also, just so everyone understands, there are far more different types of humanoids and hybrids all over the planet. I found a number of humanoids that their face looks like a chicken or a duck or like the Walt Disney Goofy character. Really kind of pretty wild. And another really great line that Andy made, which was on PI 10214, was the scorpion being, who is half scorpion, half humanoid. Scorpion on the lower half, and from the waist up is humanoid with a very muscular type body and a bulbous head. And I found a couple more of those. And on the site, projectmars.net, you go to the Annals of Mars, and you'll find a paper written up regarding those. And also the find that I made in a book about Egypt that shows the goddess Serket, who is half scorpion and half humanoid. She's depicted like that at times, but most of the time she has a motif on the top of her head that looks like a scorpion. So Very diverse.
Okay. Karen and Bret just signaled me. I think they want something to say, so we'll pass it to them for a moment. If you're complete, are you complete with your thought?
They fell off.
Sounds
Oh,
good.
they fell off again. Oh, she said we're standing by. Oh, okay, that's what she said. Can you try calling them again, Ahmad?
Just a second.
Okay, we're having a great time here. I'm looking at some of these images. So you're going to have all these images that you're talking about at the conference, and they'll be, you have a slide capability, PowerPoint capability, so these will be really large so people can see what we're talking about.
Yes.
Yes. Because I'm looking at one of the pictures, and I see a bunch of different things other than what is being drawn.
I keep seeing sex symbols. What are they showing us?
Oh, joking. In fact, I wish I had a Colin in this one, and then I would draw what I'm seeing. I'm a pretty good drawer.
Yeah.
But I see all kinds of things. Who was doing these things that are like the art on there of different? Does anybody have any idea who was creating these different like renditions of people? And
I think it's the Martians. I mean, I think they're very, very artistic, and because on each little entranceway or any area that is leading to an underground abode, it has a carving. Usually, it is the likeness of the people that live there. Not always, It may be a carving of a warning. It may be just a warning, but many, many times, I think actually most of the time, just like we would identify our homes by numbers or our name, they identify it with a carving instead. Carving of the likeness of them.
So how far were these pictures taken? Are you? See, I'm looking at on the Facebook that Bret put up about 9 hours ago. He's calling it Tree Beard. And
Hello.
so I'm wondering, like,
He's here.
hi, you're there. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
I'm looking at
Hello.
Tree Beard on Facebook. It's been
Yes,
posted
that's exactly what I was trying to finish with. There's these two-dimensional type things that are integrated with the three-dimensional topography that I'm seeing, and it's very themed and it's very specific. And this is a Hobbit theme, a J.R. Tolkien theme, and it's suggestive of Middle Earth. In other words, Tiamat would have been on the other side, and then Mars would have been Middle Earth, and then we've got Earth.
So
So
I
it's
see,
very
the
suggestive.
man's face. I see a man's
Yes.
face. And then I
Yes.
see another face that's pointing left. And it
Yeah,
looks
that's
like
the giant. He's riding on his back.
and I see another one that looks like almost like a little penguin type, not penguin. Looks like a little bird face. There's two eyes, a little beak. And it looks like his feet are up and his arms are up and he's on his back. And then beside him is a little reptoid. And it looks like his feet are down straight and so he's holding something in his right hand. And he's looking back at the tree beard. Do you see that, Sasha? No. Anyway, these are fascinating. It's almost like you could put them down and see what people see. If we could have people can draw.
That's just like the ink blot test. Yeah, just like the ink blot test, there is a right answer.
Yeah.
Whatever you see is the right answer.
Four characters. I see four characters in here, distinct characters. But somebody else might say, oh, here's another one. Here's a big nose guy. And there's
his nose kind of looks like a phallus, right?
Right. Yeah, I see that guy at the bottom.
Yeah.
So I see five characters in this one piece of art alone, and it definitely reminds you of a Tolkien, Disney-ish type.
Yeah, some deep fancy stuff. Yes.
What we kind of made a connection to, so one of the things I do with Bret is we work on decoding the pictures. We've ran into quite a few picture scenarios of Greek mythology in lunar images, but we're getting more Norse mythology in Mars images and Egyptian and that sort of thing. And they're full themes. And Bret, finally, I sit over, look over his shoulder, and he starts to sketch it out for me. And once he identifies the characters, and I try to, find where they are in mythology or in actual history. And J.R.R. Tolkien was a linguist. He deeply studied history. We're thinking that he presented some very deep history, as many writers do. They will go to some very deep and hidden history to write his stories. So I think he was writing from the Nordic mythology, as we would call it, the Nordic traditions. And Bret came up with a fascinating concept, since the Nordics seem to be very spacefaring. I mean, we have a whole host of people who have had an experience with Nordic beings, and this might be a situation where they are sharing, or somehow they're sharing through pictographs or whatever, their history from wherever they are. And he had this interesting idea of Middle Earth being Mars, being Midgard in that pantheon cosmological pattern of Norse mythology, and that Tiamat is that story of destruction from Ragnarok, which is in Nordic mythology. And, so if you just take that and scale it up, not just their cosmological view on Earth, but scale it up to the solar system, that gets very interesting very quickly, because there is a Nordic presence in extraterrestrial studies. They have brought people up in ships. People often meet Nordic beings. Nordic beings have interacted with our government. They've been seen gambling at the casino in Las Vegas. So I mean, there's a connection there worth looking at.
Oh,
and that's what
when we go to the conference, there's a picture that Misha Johnston has.
I saw it. I went
in.
Her.
You saw that one? Okay, yes.
Yeah, I mean, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, okay? But yeah, when I've gone with these we've both gone with these pictorial clues that Bret is able to see. It opens up a whole perspective of, like an archetype, some of the things that Joseph Campbell talked about, archetypal ideas that have really affected our belief systems. And I'm speculating, and I'd love to have Sasha and you comment on this, is that we may not have been given our belief systems, like we didn't develop them here. We might have been given to them, given that we were kind of almost like a baby race when the Anunnaki created us. They simply gave us their stories, their belief system, their religion, but they kind of skewed it so that they would be the gods, And I hope we get into maybe even a panel discussion or something like that when we're there.
Yeah, there's also a pattern. I don't know if it's an extraterrestrial pattern or a human pattern, but in light of William Tompkins' material, he says that there's giant spaceships up there that are the Navy are in charge of, and it's to me like the pattern would be that the elitists from the planet basically leave a dying civilization or whatever and say, sucks to be you, sorry, or whatever, and leaves them on a planet. And out of survival, they have to either die or develop a higher technology than actually the ones that left took. So they basically they come and they go to another planet, and they start the same cycle over again, but fresh, because that's sort of the pattern. is to start new, some order out of chaos, that sort of thing. So they start new with whatever indigenous things that are on the planet, or they start new with their own civilization that gets off the ship. And it always ends up where they develop this civilization again and then decide that it's time to leave, through this secret space program or whatever. So they leave again and they go to another planet. The only thing is they've already done this a few times or whatever, and they're looking farther out to go to their next planet that is Earth-like. And because they've already done this on Mars, they've left people there, they've survived. There's Martians there that have higher technology than we currently have. There is a lot going on out there that is suggestive, and I'm actually getting this information or this download from Mars images themselves, because anything that the sunlight hits, you get an incredible amount of information from the reflection of that. Just like a mirror. Our ancestors, got the information from the light source, the sun, or the sun bouncing off the moon, and they got feelings and downloads and graphics and information of what the idea of the gods are through these different dimensional portals and whatnot. And even when we're kept in the dark, we can figure this out with patterns and looking back at nature. So we can reflect that back. And when we send out that expectation that our elitist people that are running everything tend to do like a reverse psychology thing. And they like to one-up us, they like to say, see, that's not what we were doing. We really meant this. And that's exactly what we want to do to them. We want to send out our expectation of things. And
our intentions. Our intentions are very powerful. And we can change the story.
We can change the pattern. Hope you guys heard that.
Okay, who's up next? Sasha, do you have anything to say?
My mic wasn't working.
Is your mic working now? Can everybody hear you?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear Sasha?
I
Speak,
can.
Sasha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. He can be a little
Okay.
louder.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's the one of the things that people coming to the conference are going to get is they're going to immerse themselves in evidence that once you've had this level of information, you can't not know it. And it's like opens the key to not just the clandestine going on of our secret space program, but the whole way everything has been run to the detriment of the consciousness that each person has, and that the lights of so many of our souls here are being diminished or not being allowed to make their contributions under the current system. And I think that the kind of information, particularly Andy, by his direct experience, and others by looking at the evidence, brings before us is a new way of being, a way of dealing with who we really are, as being involved in this huge civilization of many planets and many civilizations. And there's fractals within each of us of everything and everyone. And that's the key, I think, to getting out of being trapped in our the fractals of the aliens.
Okay, who's wants to speak next? We're passing this talking stick. We're going to be coming on a break in a few minutes here, and we just checking in. We haven't been able to get Thomas in here, so he hasn't responded. So let's just keep going. What do you want to tell our listeners about the lineup of speakers and who they are and who chose these people? How did they come together?
Well, it was really kind of odd. I put a kind of a feeler out there, just to see who would be interested. It's kind of came together through osmosis. I don't know. kind of strange, I was very interested, have always been interested in Janet, your and Sasha's work with Annunaki, and then I found out about Billy being so embedded in that. Ever since mainly he's had his experience with the Greys, which he has put out there, so I'm not saying anything out of order. And like Billy doesn't sleep much. He told me that as long as he's been up is for 7 days straight, and so he just pounds away at it. So and then the way that everything ties in, Andy is going to do the his discovery of life on Mars talk, and then connect with the Egyptian connection, and ending his talk with that, and then of course, Sasha, you and Janet and Billy all have a piece of that puzzle with the Egyptian Annunaki kind of connection, and it all kind of ties into one another. And then William Whitecrow, he is going to talk literally about his experiences while on the planet. In his last presentation at the 5th annual Mars conference, which was via Skype, he was there during wars at the same time that there was a war going on, and they would be pummeled by debris from outer space. And we're talking somewhere between 12 and 15,000 years ago. So he and the crew time traveled back to that point. And Billy was responsible for their care, for their protection. And not Billy, William Whitecrow. So he was the one that said, all right, let's go. It's time to get out of here. But I can't remember how many people he had there with him, but there was all kinds of stuff going on. Bombs going off. The planet was basically being almost annihilated through war and being pummeled by outer space debris. So he's gonna speak about that and his times and his time there in more modern times, like when he was there with Andy, and when he and Andy fought back to back against pterodactyl-like creatures, and put down about, I think, around 20 of them, something like that, while William Stillings was kind of cowering at their ankles, which they made him do. They could, like, get here and we'll see what we can do about this. So they took out about 20 of these pterodactyls, and these pterodactyls had I think eliminated a number of troops before that happened. And William Whitecrow knew that they were in the area, and they ventured forth anyway, and sure enough, they came upon them. And if you're not taking them out, they're taking you out. As simple as that. So Whitecrow is going to be really sharing some very cool, unique, first-hand experience stuff. That's going to be really interesting. And then, of course, there's a Mars-Moon connection. And then, we've got everything that Bret and Karen are bringing forth.
Hold that thought. We're looking at the Mars-Moon connection. We'll be back in about 5 minutes.
freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Enjoy your extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another extra big-ass fries?
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having
trouble.
trouble.
Come on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning, how to do everything website, all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Hey folks, Captain Nighthawk here. Do you have a favorite host? Well, imagine if you will having all the broadcast shows from 2013 to listen to anytime you want. Awesome deal, huh? Anyway, so stop by freedomslips.com and order the entire 2013 library of your favorite host for just $30. Not only do you help with the station funding to keep us on the air, you also help the host because they get half of the net on every order. Also, we have Revolution Radio's all-time favorite shows all on one disc. The details are really broad, so you'll have to visit the website and go look at the details yourself. It's, again, www.freedomslips.com/season2013.htm. And get your favorites. First come, first serve, 7 to 21 days for delivery. Thank you. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps, including me. Later.
We've got to stop them! They're going to kill us all!
Looking for a nightcap to fill your listening needs? Come join us on Spaced Out Radio with me, Dave Scott, right here on Revolution Radio. Monday through Friday for 3 hours a night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we will take you down the supernatural path. From E.T. contact to the paranormal and all of the spiritual, cryptid, and conspiracy stories in between. You can find us right here on Revolution Radio, at spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show. Spaced Out Radio. It's a night of talk and interaction. Are you experienced?
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
And aloha, and welcome back to the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And before we get back to our show, I'd like to remind everybody to please go over to that donation button and make your donation. $1, $5, $15, $20, $25, $30, $35, $40, $40, $50, $100. Whatever you donate will be greatly appreciated, and we do thank you very much for taking the time and making a donation. And Ahmad, any specials going on right now?
No, ma'am. We just need your money, and the 2016 CDs are up and ready to be sold. So if you want your favorite host show for the whole year, it's like $35.
Wow, that's great. So go over there and buy Dr.
And the host get half that.
Oh, wow, that's really great. Yes, go buy. We can use the money too. Okay. So anything you want to say, Sasha, before we bring back the crew?
No, but you have to understand what's happening, audience, that one of the things that happens is that there's been lots and lots of photographs that were taken before Photoshop and techniques of hiding stuff. And Billy Carson has gotten a whole bunch of public access stuff. Newspapers have things. People have taken pictures. And you have professionals like Bret and Karen that are going over with these pictures and seeing what's been there the whole time with just a deeper focus. And so we can all be researchers ultimately and start to see there's a lot of evidence. And what all this evidence is going to do is to end the truth embargo so that perhaps we'll be able to find out a little bit more about the world we really live in and who murdered all those little princes in the tower.
Okay, who wants to take the talking stick as we return to the last hour?
Well, let me jump in there just for a little bit more. I just put a photo in the feed of the Hammerman. And I don't know if you guys see that. If you click on it, you'll see I kind of have it defined and outlined. And that is one of those hammermen that I was telling you about. And he's a festival worker. You know, so and to finish up what I was saying, it's just all the speakers kind of tie in one into another. So it's going to be very informative and very congruent, like I said, and it's going to be a great conference. I can't wait. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody. You know, so
I am too.
Yeah. To one more time get back to this Hammerman. It is my favorite image. It's my favorite find. Although I found a lot of them, I don't know. I really like it because to me, it stood out to me right away. As soon as I saw it, I saw the guy. And he looks like a gray. And I can't tell, one thing I can't tell is if he has sunglasses on or if that's his eyes. So that's the only thing I can't really tell. But you can see he's holding a ball peen hammer. It's easy to see the ball and the peen on it and the handle hanging down through his hand. He's kind of grasping onto an outcrop with his left arm and leaning over and out and holding the hammer out in front of him. So, and it's the real deal.
So you're saying the arm is out. Okay, I see what it's saying. It's circling around. So this image I'll put on the website. I can do that a little bit later. So here's the eyes, and there's the hammer. So you're asking if that's his sunglasses. I think that's his eyes. I don't see anything across his bridge. That's probably.
I think it is
Could
also,
be
but
could be contact lenses too.
I think he's in the shadows. His eyes are shadowed. That's why they do. Well, it's
You know,
hard.
but
It's not,
it's really
it's not a very clear image.
yeah, I mean, you can see his 3 fingers. I mean, you can see he's got 3 fingers that are holding on to the
They look
thumb
human.
behind.
They
Yeah,
almost look
yeah.
like
So,
human.
I mean, it's easy to see his neck and the whole deal, you know. And just if you were to be able to go just off of this image to his right, to our left, that's where the other hammerman stands. And if you look right above where I have the neck identified and follow that straight up, there's a small humanoid that I would imagine is a child, has a pink shirt on. I have other images that show him a little bit better. He's got green pants, a pink shirt, and kind of a bulbous head. So.
I see. I'm seeing a different. I'm seeing a different thing than you are. I always see something different. I'm seeing something different. So this is the neck. Okay. Anyway, this doesn't make sense to people that are on a audio. They can't see it, but you have to go look at this image that we'll have to have on the site later, and you can give us your comments on that. So now, where is this image? Is this the moon or Mars? This is Mars?
It's Mars. It's in Victoria Crater. Victoria Crater has a tremendous amount of anomalies in it. I mean, it is just full. There's a image. It's just to the left of that from our viewpoint. There is what appears to be a face of a Joker. But, and I always thought it was a Joker until I did some additional work on it. And when I zoomed in, the Joker became a rabbit. So it was really kind of strange, you know, but another thing that the Martians do is they will put a collage of images together, separate images, to make a whole. So they'll have maybe 4 or 5 or 6 different humanoids and put them together to make an image of one humanoid, but it's comprised of these others. They do that. It's a normal thing for them to do.
I was wondering if maybe Dr. Lessin could give an explanation of what's with all the ancient ruins? What's the connection with the Annunaki on both the moon and Mars?
One of the most obvious connections is that there is a series of pyramids. Is an Anunnaki style of creating. Well, they're multi-purpose, but channeling the energy, the electric energy that passes through the inside of the planet, amplifying it with hydrated potassium explosion, releasing hydrogen, sending it up and picking it up in monoliths or in their craft. And so that's one thing that seems to be There's pyramids on Mars. There's pyramids. Billy Carson has shown us very, very pyramidal shapes on Mercury. A lot of the beyond the lies that NASA has perpetrated about Venus and Mercury and places being uninhabitable. They're not true. There's things both on the surface and underneath, and the kind of anomaly hunting that Lewis is doing and Billy and others are showing us. Look, there's actual pictures there. They were taken before people could mess with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel fortunate enough that I downloaded a large amount of images. I was doing that in 2009, the beginning of 2009. So back then they were still definitely trying to hide what was there, but not so much as they are now. But I always said that our job as anomaly hunters is to find what they miss, because they definitely miss stuff.
Yeah, and there's this other thing which is really interesting, that how the whistleblowers' hypnotic drugs and hypnotic programs start to wear off, and they're able to get what they really saw. Barrett about this one fellow who was one of the astronauts on the moon. He ran the camera that was from the craft, showing all kinds of things, and he became a painter after he wasn't an astronaut, and he was at first painting everything in sort of the dull brownish thing that you would expect for a lunar surface that NASA has it. But then he started painting more and more colorful things, and more colorful things. And then as he got really old and went inside, and the drugs and whatever it was that blocked him wore off, he said, well, of course, the moon is full of colors because the sun is hitting all these glass domes all over the place, and they're like prisms, and they're making all these lights all over. And so that's the phenomenon that's happening too. People are not just whistleblowers because they kept it a secret all this time, but they're getting their memories back.
Makes sense. That makes sense to me.
And these places are, Mars has got green places with this flowing water. There are such obvious pictures of what's really there. It's a planet. It's a beautiful planet, and it's regenerating itself.
Yes. Speaking of the flowing water, Sasha, there's a image of Burns Cliff, which isn't really a cliff. I've found a tremendous amount of image manipulation in that image, where they have repeated the terrain over and over again numerous times, stretching and lengthening and just making it longer and wider, and it's I found formations of rocks and such that are repeated the exact same thing over and over again to really obfuscate the image. And it's really, this is really hard to swallow, but the Burns Cliff has water all over it. It has flowing water all over it. And there is actually a resort on that cliff. I found, guess we call them cabanas, like I found numerous ones of those. Ross Curley and I did a joint discovery that shows this. I really don't know. It looks like a large cabana, but there's something inside it. I don't know if it's a boat or a ship or something, but it's obvious. It looks like a bear. If you look at it from way out, it looks like a bear until you close in on it. And then just across the water from it is an array of cabanas that I believe is a resort area, tables and everything all over it. I think and again, there's water. I've found humanoids and animals in the water, swimming in the water, drinking the water. it's yeah. So they've tried to hide that, but they weren't totally successful.
And, this is really interesting. It's one of the principles of Sigmund Freud in one of my disciplines is that the neurotic act always has the seeds of what it's trying to deny contained in it. So here, the neurotic act is the painting over of the and the deliberately distorting and hiding in certain places. But has the seeds of its own discovery, because when you see where has this painting been fooled with, that's your clue to look for something, so that they are giving themselves away by trying to hide.
Yes, exactly. If you go to my Facebook page and look for, let me see if I can tell you exactly. It's Mars rover data distortion. There's 10 photos and it shows how they have really messed with that Burns Cliff image, and I have zero doubt in my mind that they've done this throughout. That this is a common practice, But I really keyed, because I spent so much time on that image that I really keyed in on it. So again, go to my page and look at the album Mars Rover Data Distortion.
Right, and so what you've done is you've provided a paradigm for whenever people see a repeated distortion of how they might tackle getting beyond that. You've shown them where to look, and you've even got some of the technique of how to get past there.
Yes. So I spent a lot of time on that. And, I mean, I was so absorbed into it when I started doing this that I just couldn't break away from it. It had me. It had me hook, line, and sinker, as they say. So now I don't do a lot of work now. What I do is I try to maintain the Mars Anomaly Research Society by commenting and reposting, some of the great finds. There's one really awesome anomalous is Martine Graney. She does an outstanding job of finding anomalies on Mars, and she has found some great ones. So if you go to Mars Anomaly Research Society, you'll find her. She's also part of UFO and Martian Genesis, I think she calls her. So she has found so much, and she does she does very simple work. She doesn't. It's, in my opinion, a really good anomalist does not alter and doesn't colorize things. The changes that they make are to simply bring out what is there, to enhance what's there, so people can see it. So they're changing hue and contrast and such, so that it brings out more detail. And they're not really changing anything. They're, and anyone that wants to look at the raw image, they can.
Yep.
So, but
okay, go ahead. If you want to finish, then we'll pass the talking stick back to Karen and Bret.
Okay, no, go ahead. I've kind of said my piece. These are the kind of things that I'm going to show. I'm going to show this data distortion. That two of my main things are this data distortion and the festival on Mars. And the rest, I'm just going to show little snapshots of the various finds I have found. So this is my first time.
Festival. Lewis, is there any way to get sounds from Mars? Can we just get pictures? Do you have sounds?
Do I have sounds? I don't.
Yeah,
I
music. You're talking about.
I mean, I can certainly do it to put that behind what I'm doing, but I haven't. I just have all these images. I've got much more than I've even put onto my Facebook page. I've got much more. So
I mean, what I'm wondering is, do we have a way of looking at the auditory recordings with the same kind of depth that we are able to analyze with the photographic recordings? And maybe there's this incredible thing that Billy Carson has presented, which was a auditory conversation between people the Apollo landing, where they're really talking behind the beams. Did you see that one over there? My gosh, it's not one of ours. So there's.
Yeah.
I just wonder if you are getting stuff like that because that's amazing. There's sound recordings too about what was happening on the Moon and Mars.
No, I haven't done to any of that. So of course I know what you're talking about. I've seen that. I've listened to it. Yeah, I've listened to it, but I haven't pursued that. You kind of, there's so much that you almost have to just kind of stick with certain things, that you're exploring in depth, And my latest thing that I'm going to really start getting into is the whole Annunaki thing. As a matter of fact, I've got 2 of your books, Sasha, and I'm waiting for the other one to come in. So
Right, yeah.
Which ones do you have?
I have Annunaki False Gods, and I have Legacy of the Gods, and I can't remember the title of the other one, but that's coming.
God's No More.
And
Yeah,
it's
coming up.
Yeah, yes. And so I'm gonna really dive into those because I want to absorb as much as I can before the conference regarding that. And
Great.
I just received Selected by Extraterrestrials by Tompkins.
Oh yeah, I have that.
Yeah, have you read it, Janet?
I read it about half to 3/4, and I got distracted. But I don't always read it from front to back. I kind of read the back part. I cheat all the time. I go to see how it ends. And then I'll zoom through it, and I'll see something that sticks out in my mind, and I'll go read that. And it's just because my life is so crazy with very little time. But if you can do front to back, good for you. It's been a long time since I've read a book cover to cover, front to back in order.
That's the way I have to go. And I also got The Temple at the Center of Time by David Flynn, who unfortunately has passed away.
I never heard of that one.
Yeah, and he also wrote Cydonia about Mars. Hold on a second. Can't remember the full title, but anyway, that book, it's really, I think it's very expensive to get now. The David Flynn book about Mars, Cydonia, but I bought it before the price went up. So it was really, really good. Ties in Egypt, Mars, the Annunaki, the Aries, the whole thing, the whole mythology behind it, and it's really an awesome book.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, here it is. It's called, I highly recommend this for any Mars researcher. It's called Cydonia, The Secret Chronicles of Mars.
Wow.
And you can actually go onto YouTube, and he's made some presentations around it, but it is phenomenal, really phenomenal. So I highly recommend it. So anyway, Sasha, thanks a lot for, introducing me to the Annunaki thing. I asked you some time ago which one I should start with, and now I'm finally ready.
Yeah, it's useful, especially if there's a timeline in the back, and there's the characters, and you could use it as a reference book too as you read other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, everything. Go ahead.
I'm sorry I interrupted, but I'll finish my. Sasha is writing a book called Marduk, Annunaki, King of Earth, right? Yeah. Okay. And Marduk was the one that ruled the Mars base. He took over the Mars base, and the Ijiji came to the Earth because it was Marduk's wedding, and that's the story of the rape of the Sabine women, where they 200 Martians, and this is the story behind the myth that the Martians invaded us. It was just his people came twice. They came down. They kind of got upset because they didn't have women and they didn't have booze and all kinds of things that men need. So when they came down for the wedding, they wanted wives, and they came down and I guess they just kind of took them, or maybe they seduced them. I was going to say that.
Anyway, they took them. They took them by force.
They took them by force.
We're talking about these fully armed astronauts.
Giant
people. Nobody could resist them. The royals had already left the wedding. Marduk and Sheppard had gone off for their honeymoon, and it was all planned.
Yeah.
And as soon as they took over the landing platform at Baalbek in Lebanon, they had all the guns, and Marduk says to the commander, "Hey, just let him have it," and so forth. He interceded. He showed that he was on the side of the Earthlings and the astronauts against the commander.
So these giant people just came down and took these normal-sized humans, and
these were normal-sized humans.
These were bigger.
These were the special Adapite children of Enki. Basically, these were way taller and bigger and beautifuler.
And beautifuler.
Wow.
So anyway, they eventually bonded with their.
They bred lineages. They lived.
Yeah.
They lived in the area in Canaan. There's a lot of them moved down there. Marduk's Osiris and Seth, his kids, and Shamgaz, Marduk's great friend, was part of the murder of Osiris. These guys were on Marduk's side as he fought to be still.
That's wow. That's really wow.
So the art renditions, the story is that Enki is an artist, and that he actually is a Da Vinci. There's these theories that he never died. He's an immortal being, and he walks among us, and he changes his identity, and he just travels amongst us. Somehow he has an avatar, which is normal height or within the range, and he's traveling around with Mary, who is Nimma. They finally got married. They were forbidden to marry for years, so they got married. And so when the Annunaki are very talented in many, many ways, because they lived so long, they developed all these talents. And so he would go around and draw and paint and, do that side of him. So that's what we're seeing on, especially the moon. He spent a lot of time on the moon with his son Marduk, who was very confused about his life and what he was supposed to do. Every time he gets something going, some disaster wipes him out, and he gets involved in battles, and he fights with his siblings, and he fights with his cousins, and they're trying to kill him. And so, the oldest son Marduk was Enki's project. And he'd say, "Come on, son, let's just go to the moon for a while." And they'd be there for years, because for the Annunaki, that was just like a couple months, and sure. They just let everything run back here. And so they had a lot of time to do all these artist type things. They probably could do everything. Nimma, when she came through Mars on the way to Earth, she found Lalu and Anzu, and she built the monument, which is the face on Mars that was discovered with the Viking probe, right? And so, and that face is pyramids or something?
It's in Cydonia.
Yeah, it's in Cydonia, right? But that faces the pyramids
It's exactly facing Earth.
Earth, yeah. And the mask is off, yes. So we see all these connections with the Anunnaki story. It's fun. It's like, oh, look, here's another connection, another connection.
And plus, they documented the lakes and the air, that it was thin and you needed an oxygen mask, but you could be okay with it. We have documented people that were on Mars and wrote down ridiculous what they observed.
Okay, Karen, we haven't heard from you and Bret in a while. Are you still with us?
I'm here. Hello.
Oh, what happened to Karen? Did she leave?
She's right here. Do you want to talk to her first?
Okay. No, whoever wants to go first.
Okay. Yes, I remember Lewis's Hammerman and his Wizard and Ross Curley's Gremlin. There's so many great anomalies on there. And what's cool about looking at these things, I was told by a NASA contractor who was still working with the images at Arizona University of Arizona. Anyway, they're a contractor for NASA, and he literally posted an image that they had altered digitally. And I said, well, okay, now that makes it worse because now I see a whole Saturnella festival with literally. He goes, well, see, that's what happens when you lower the resolution or you up the resolution. You're adding CGI if you up the resolution, so I got him to admit that. And then when you lower the resolution, you start seeing more defined choppy pixels, which brings out other things. So it was basically telling me that I just have an excellent imagination and I'm a great artist. Now, the thing is that when we're all looking at these with our independent context, we all have something to bring to that, what we're seeing in these images. And it is a puzzle. It's a puzzle picture for humanity. And when we're looking at these images, we see often themes that lead us to stories. And these stories are very old. They're ancient. So sometimes it's within our context when we see a gremlin or whatever, we don't really connect that that's part of some kind of myth or that's some kind of folklore. And these things are telling us what our history was out in space. And the imagery that we're seeing is an extraterrestrial communication. And there were guys back in the 1800s that were getting radio signals from Mars, and they turned those signals, them frequencies, into images. And they started looking at the images, and they started seeing faces and people and very, very odd clothing and all of these things. The thing is these pictures are communicating from another dimension in space-time. And they're literally showing us sometimes our ancient history as well as the new stuff or future. Based on the context we know of when we're looking at these images, we can collectively put our thinking caps on collectively and actually analyze these together. And that's exactly what ended up happening. That's what we're doing now, as we're all looking at these with their own context, whether it be in 3 dimensions, 2 dimensions, 4 dimensions, whatever the case may be, 5th dimensions. These images are coming through and they're showing us the genius of that is different layers within a 2-dimensional spectrum or a frequency. So now we have frequencies popping through this light information that was captured by unmanned spacecraft. So human hands didn't do this. Disney did not do this. They have no idea how to decipher these images. And it's because when we, just like a picture is 1,000 words, it literally means something personal to the individual that's actually looking at the image with their personal context. So in this way, extraterrestrials are able to communicate with an entire civilization of people without speaking their language.
What kind of thing are they? What are they conveying as people are being able to pick up their messages to us? What are the things that you and Karen and the other adult readers are getting for the message? What are they telling us?
Well, the first thing that they're telling us is that we are from space, that we have been hopping from planet to planet under the same pattern, the same motive. It's usually because the planet is going to be naturally destroyed or we've destroyed it ourselves, and it's only the very, very wealthy, or the ones that have captured the most resources, that we're able to leave. And we've done this many times, and we've left really good people on other planets to, not necessarily to die, but to fend for themselves. And that's exactly what they're planning to do with Earth. Now, the difference is we're kind of onto them. Even Russia is onto them. And their Indian Space Agency, which is a collective of, they want to integrate all the space agencies. That's what India is all about. And the thing is India right now is working with Russia to actually go back to the moon, because the moon is the next stop before we can go to Mars. We have to be able to go to the moon first, and this is from the civilian side, not from the secret space program side. The secret space program is already up there. They already know what's going on, and basically that's the bomb that they're dropping on us, is that there is a secret space program. There is elitists in control of that program. And they're deciding right now who they're going to take, what's going to happen to Earth, how long are we going to continue, the financial system, the whole thing. So right now they're deciding all that, but there's a civilian space program that is currently being run by a collective of all the civilian space programs. Especially Russian, they're interested in going back to the moon, and India is on board with that. There is the secret space program notion of taking the elite up there. Well, they've already done that. They go up there and gamble. They go up there and do all kinds of stuff right in our orbit. They've got these giant ships that run by Navy. They call it, Solar Warden and Project Mayflower, and have different names for it. And it's all like sort of a derivative from the Manhattan Project, some of the aspects of the Manhattan Project, where they've opened time space with nuclear weapons, and also the Philadelphia experiments way back during the war.
Just to interject, Hawkins and his book, selected by extraterrestrials, said that when we got there, when the NASA program got there in the 60s, they were greeted by extraterrestrials who had very large craft, and they basically booted us off and said, don't come back. You can come back, get a few rocks, and do your show for the public, but you can't stay, because Hawkins said that they had a whole their plan was to go and colonize the moon, and had all these ships designed and ready to go, which are huge, like transport ships that could take parts of buildings so they could land and just, start constructing things. And when you read the book, it's, I highly recommend it. You just sit there and go, wow, this is what's really going on. And that new movie that's out with the African-American women that were the computers for NASA, Hawkins worked with them. And they were very brilliant, and so they said, let's go talk to the girls, because their computers weren't working, so they actually used these women who were enhanced somehow genetically as supercomputers, and that's the only way they got the space program off the ground, because computers just weren't, up to par at that point. So it's a fascinating book, but I don't think that this new program, unless things have changed and we don't have any insiders coming out and revealing anything, this new effort to get to the moon, they're going to be seriously challenged by people being already there that are going to say, no, you can't get a parking pass.
Hi, this is Karen. We actually were meeting with Ken Johnston today. We came from Texas to New Mexico to be in the same town with Ken Johnston, who was a NASA, he worked in the data and photo control lab during the Apollo missions, actually. So he was able to collect his own. He thought it was going to be his work portfolio. He managed to keep an original set of NASA images, and they differ. We've actually worked with them to help him get books out and rescan them and put them online. But we looked at them with our own eyes, and there's a vast difference between what he has collected and what we see that's online for people to discern. And I think it's amazing we can even still find anomalies, because they've been pretty actively from the get-go, before they even had CGI. They were putting a piece of acetate over and painting the sky black so you couldn't see UFO craft up in the air. I actually found a UFO craft up over the top of one of the astronauts' heads in Apollo 15 image. But what I wanted to say about Ken is this. Ken is getting ready. He's amazing. He's 74, and he puts us two young people to shame on his energy level. But he is like this kind of key person as well. And he was. There's not that many people who were engineers. He worked in the development of the spacesuit, which is his first assignment with NASA. He worked in the lunar module. They had a lunar module training in a giant vacuum chamber that he literally logged time with the astronauts to make sure that, they had to do some very basic procedures to keep their communication lines open with Houston when they were on the moon, to make sure they didn't, unplug themselves from oxygen, so they could, keep themselves alive. I mean, they sucked all the air out of this big thing, and they trained to make sure that they knew how to be very careful in that mission. Well, there's just simply not that many people left who had that intimate knowledge. Ken is getting ready right now to go to India to talk to the Indian subcontractors and contractors who are going to be trying to do another moon mission. And we have had a subtle but substantial change in the world financial picture. This is an effort by the BRICS nation, BRICS. That'd be Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And they got together to knock the American dollar off as the world currency and to cut the Federal Reserve back, because it's these financiers who controlled everything about NASA. When they found what they wanted to find, or found out how they were going to get to the moon and all that, they completely shut the Apollo missions down at Apollo 17. They left 18, 19, and 20 with the lunar module part and the Saturn rockets on the factory floor, and used them for some other things that they did. But basically, as they were coming, this is the lore that we have from Ken, who's just an amazing person to learn from. He said that as Apollo 17 was coming back from the moon to Earth, a voice came on multiple bands of frequency. It was picked up by ham radio operators and people all over the world that were paying attention to radio signals. And it said basically to NASA, to the United States, and to planet Earth, don't come back, you're not ready yet. In other words, we came and we checked it out, and we were already obfuscating, as Bret and I deeply discovered, who was actually covering up this, what they were finding before they even told the public anything. And we're going to the UFO Congress with you guys, but with Ken, and Bret is actually going to talk about one incident where he has tracked who, what, why, where, and how they obfuscated that there was a base on the moon that was picked up by a camera that was mounted on the outside of the lunar module. Edgar Mitchell also took a picture, and there were transcripts that they were seeing this base. However, that was completely covered up by a cadre of insiders in the NASA program. And Ken faithfully told that story forever, but Bret found the evidence, and we're going to be presenting that at the UFO Congress, UFOCongress.com, in February. And I was blown away by Mr. Tompkins' work as well. It filled in, it lit up a whole bunch of researchers to look deeply into some things and start dot connecting, because that's really what it's about, putting together the big picture.
Let me convey something to you from page 414 of Selected by Extraterrestrials. As reported in late 66, the U.S. unmanned space probe Orbiter 2 passed 30 miles above the surface of the Earth. NASA was attempting to find the most interesting location for astronauts to land. The onboard camera photographed 6 pyramid structures that were arranged in a geometrical pattern in a specific area within the Sea of Tranquility. And so these were arranged similar in plan to the Egyptian pyramids, and the 3 stars were Orion. So they picked that for the first landing. Our astronauts were shocked when they landed on the moon. The first Apollo landing on the moon resulted in a major shock to them. The landing module LEM actually impacted the moon's surface in the Sea of Tranquility crater, which had tremendous sized vehicles parked around part of its rim. When astronaut Neil Armstrong made that first step for a man on the moon, he looked up to the edge of the crater and said to Mission Control, "There are other ships here. They are enormous." And he has a sketch in his book, page 414. And the public did not hear that statement or see the massive alien starships. Oh, this guy, Tompkins, was looking at the real transmission. This wasn't what was conveyed to the American public. And then Armstrong panned his camera in 360-degree motion all around the crater. The CIA then classified the information as way above top secret. The extraterrestrials put up their no trespassing signs, but allowed us to make several other additional Apollo landings to pick up a few rocks and play in the sand. The action of the extraterrestrials stopped our plans to build our manned naval base on the moon. Everything stopped, including our similar plans for Mars. We beat the Russians, but that was not the only reason we went to the moon. It was also for a long-term scientific research and development program. But yes, everything stopped. Nearly all of the 400,000 aerospace contractors were laid off, not just at Douglas, but at Boeing, Grumman, North American, ITT, Caltech, JPL, and the other numerous companies all over the country. Anyway, it's a fascinating book, and if true, it really is disclosure. And I recommend listening to William Tompkins' YouTubes. He has been interviewed by many people. William, if you want to come on our show, we're waiting for you. But he's his 90s, and so perhaps he's been selected by the extraterrestrials, and they have a longevity program. Maybe that's why he's so youthful and healthy. Back to somebody else. We have like 8 minutes left. 6 or 7 minutes left. Okay. Somebody, I guess, final words from everybody. Sasha, want to say something?
It's been a great show. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, we have 6 or 7 minutes. It's not that many. Okay, somebody else. Karen, you want to finish up what you were saying? Karen or Bret or...
Oh, how about Bret? Because he was listening to what you've been talking to. So here, let's give you to Bret.
Okay, go ahead. Give Bret.
Hello. Yes, I'd just like to mention that William Tompkins, that is disclosure. I mean, are we really waiting for disclosure from a president that's just a puppet that's never been there? You know, I mean, William Tompkins, Bob Tompkins, worked at TRW. He saw the inner workings of Grumman, Northrop, NASA, JPL, inside the command, the mission control, everything. He not only got the public announcements out of mission control, but also heard the backlog from that. And he is also an experiencer. He's worked with extraterrestrials. His experience is absolutely amazing. I think it mentions in his book that his secretaries were Nordic. You know, absolutely yes. Incredible. So he's basically telling us, and they love to do that, especially at a time when there isn't jack shit we can do about it. Excuse my language. There's nothing we can do about this stuff. So how convenient for them to disclose everything, you know. But I am incredibly grateful for the validation that these whistleblowers are coming out and disclosing this information. I wouldn't call William Tompkins a whistleblower. He's just an insider who's terribly needs to tell a story, you know. It's very important that Earth knows the real story, because he doesn't feel like we should be left behind this time. So these elite people that have got these secret space programs, and they're deciding to play God and which ones are worth taking to space or whatever, maybe ask those people, do they really want to go to space? Because I don't. I'd rather stay on Earth. Bye. You know what I'm saying? Bye, guys. You know?
Yeah.
I've seen the moon.
Yeah.
I've been to the moon. I don't need to go to the moon. I've been to Mars. I mean, really, how old do they think we are?
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Hello.
Well, now I personally, I would like to step foot on Mars once. I probably already have in another life, but I would like to in this lifetime. I would just like to come out of one of the teleportation facilities, pop my head up, say, oh yeah, okay, this is Mars, and then come right back.
Yeah, some people are doing that. That's the thing. Some people are, I guess, lucky. I don't know. It's a little tough to be in the secret space program. Everything I've heard, it's a bit controlling to be the lucky one to do that. You know, Andrew Basiago famously said, you know, he'd been through the time travel and teleportation thing as a youngster, and they roped him in as a 19-year-old, and he was going to college. You know, and he told it he's amazing. He's really amazing. He's catalyzed so many of us. That's what he said as an experiencer. I just want to say that, yeah, this year is what I see is very bold coming out of people. I think this is a year of like a catalyzation of boldness for experiencers and whistleblowers who are saying enough is enough. I don't care if everybody laughs at me. I have a need to tell my story, and it's very powerful. So I've talked to, I don't know how many people that said, you know, you're the first person I ever told this to. And they've told me some jaw-dropping stuff, and I'm encouraging people, hey, you know, when are you going to wait to come out with it? Come out with it already, because what have we got to lose at this point? I look at the politics and the situation of the world and poverty and potential war, and I'm like, this is it, man. This is the time.
I agree. And the Mars conference and the conferences that will be in the future, as far as Mars goes, they're going to keep getting bigger, and they're going to expand. I mean, because there's fingers, you know, everything's connected. So which is why we have the connection of the Annunaki, Egypt on Mars, and the Mars Moon connection. It's just all one big thing that hopefully we're going to be somewhat instrumental in getting this out to the general population. So Sasha and Janet, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, everyone, for coming on the show. Somebody please convey to Thomas, Mikey, that we tried to get him on. We will do this again in the next coming months. I'd like to do at least one, but we can do several shows on our different networks. I appreciate Revolution Radio for having us on today, and Thomas Becker. And we are getting together to do our disclosure in Memphis, and the dates are again. Somebody wants.
Mobile.
I mean, in Mobile. The dates again are.
Mobile.
Somebody please convey that.
May the 6th through the 8th. May the 6th through the 8th.
2017, and the website where people can register.
They can get, it's Mars Moon Space. I did post it one time on the feed, and they can go to marsmoonspace.com, and they will see everything about it, and the donate button and tickets and all that stuff. All the information is there,
and
including the agenda.
What does it cost to attend?
$100 for the 2 presentation days. An additional $20 if you want lunch served to you each of those days, and an additional $75 to be a VIP and attend both dinners afterwards and the gathering at my home on day 3. So $175. $175, you've got it all.
And that includes food. That's a rarity. That's a very good price. Alrighty.
Yes.
Anybody waiting for the music? Anybody have anything else they want to add?
But just that the future is hopeful. Andy has told us it's been there and it's good.
And there we are. Thank you so much for joining us. You have been listening to Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Aloha.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
You need some more speed records in this day and age. You need coverage.
Coverage? Oh, you mean them little root weevils that crawl around popping off cameras in your face?
Those root weevils write history.
Many of you know that quote by Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Well, you can, and Event Horizons will give you those truths. So when you're mad as hell and not going to take it anymore from that memorable senior network, you'll know just what to do. We will draw you in and become your news addiction at Event Horizons. Join us Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time at freedomslips.com. At Revolution Radio. Our world team members are Dennis Fetcho, John Ilias, David Dunger, Hyla Cass, MD, Melanie Vrichton, Jim Mars, Paula Harris, John Trallo,